It's that time of year again, hurricane season. There's a lot of storms out there brewing. Stay tuned. We're going to give you some updated info. Greetings and salutations. I'm Gil.
And I'm Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper.
All right, welcome Strategic Prepper community. This is Gil with Strategic Prepper, and we have got another awesome hurricane video. This year, we're going to give you 4 things that you should be doing to prepare for hurricanes. All right, so if you hang out to the end, I have some bonus information on how to protect your home, and you're going to want to hear that. So you want to make sure you take steps to protect your home properly so that when the hurricane is done, you still have a place to stay in. So we're going to talk about that. Stay to the end, and we're going to cover that. And first thing before we get going, check that like, check that share, and subscribe. That really helps us out, and we do appreciate that. That helps the algorithm. All right, let's jump right into it. First thing that you should be doing is to check your supplies, check your emergency supplies. Now you're saying, but Gil, what should I have? You know, I'm glad you asked that. We have a video that we did last year talking a lot about the supplies that you should have. I'm going to have a link at the end of this, and that link will help you out in understanding what you should have if you're not already familiar with that. All right, so check out that link. On your supplies, one thing I want to point out, top off your vehicle. So when you top off your vehicle, you know that there are long lines prior to an evacuation. You want to avoid those lines. Top off your vehicle as that hurricane approaches. All right, so the first thing is check your supplies, check that list, check your vehicle fuel. All right, number 2, have a backup power plan. Now we hear stories of power shortages, rolling blackouts. That's not even with a hurricane. Now add a hurricane to that could really stress out a system. So there's a couple of areas that I would suggest that you go ahead and take care of. First, the cell phones. You need to be able to charge the cell phones. Have some battery packs. There are some good systems out there that recharge from solar, and they can charge your cell phones up. Those are very good. Spare batteries, good idea. An inverter. Having an inverter that you can plug to your vehicle, run off your car battery. You can get some regular 110 volt systems. Good idea. So these are options that you can get for alternate power. And the generator, yes, we have to talk about the generator. Great idea having a generator. So many people go buy their generators after the hurricane. Don't wait till after the hurricane. Get your generator before the hurricane, and with that you'll need enough fuel, and you'll need some place to safely store that fuel. With that generator, if you already have a generator, make sure you run the generator. Make sure it actually works. Make sure you're familiar with how to operate the generator. Everyone in the family that is capable of starting the generator should be taught and should run through how to start that generator. Also, make sure it's grounded. But you want to run the generator. Don't just assume because it worked last year, it will work this year. Run that generator, stock up on the fuel, get those spare batteries, and battery backup for phone. Have a backup battery plan. All right, so first thing is just do a review of your supplies, inspect your supplies, check your supplies to have a backup power plan. 3, all right, plan your shelter in place. Plan for at least 2 weeks. All right, at least 2 weeks. Why do I say 2 weeks? Well, sometimes a hurricane gets pretty bad. And when it gets bad, it may take a while for emergency services to restore power. Remember, what was it last year? Lake Charles, weeks without power. Puerto Rico, months. So plan your shelter in place. Plan for at least 2 weeks. That means water. That means food. Water should not just be stored water. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, is to have enough stored water, have a bunch of bottles of water. I would also suggest having a water filter Something small like a Sawyer Mini is a good personal water filter. Pretty expensive, about 20 bucks, but you should have enough water for 2 weeks, and you should have enough food for about 2 weeks. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to have the food, you have to have the means to cook the food. So you can go a couple of ways. You can have a lot of food that does not require preparation, or you can get the camp stove. Do not use those camp stoves inside. You can use the camp stove or some means to cook that. But if you're going to rely on a certain type of food, make sure that you can prepare for that safely. All right, so check your supplies, have a backup power plan, plan your shelter in place plan for at least 2 weeks, and plan to evacuate. You may have to evacuate. You need a destination. You should have a backup destination, and you should have a primary and secondary route, because the route may be plugged up with accidents with vehicles. And if you are going to evacuate, I don't like to wait until everyone else evacuates. I like to do that early. So you may want to do that in advance. Leave a day or so before everyone else, and it'll make your drive a lot quicker, a lot easier. But either way, you may hold off, but you want a primary and an alternate route. Okay, don't wait till the last minute. All right, now for that bonus bit of information. This is for protecting your house, and this comes from one of the world's largest insurance companies. A few years back, I was privileged to be able to go to their testing center and actually see hurricane tests on how to protect windows with the plywood. And yes, I actually got to see the demonstration over in New England, and that was an FM Global facility. So I want to give them credit for their testing. And what they have determined is that for a hurricane, what they're testing against is objects flying through the wind and picking up speed. I think 100 miles an hour, maybe 110, I can't remember. But let's say a 2x4 going 100 miles an hour, and it hits that plywood that you have over the window. How much plywood do you need? Well, first of all, before we get into that answer, if at all possible, it's kind of late for right now, but for the future, I would suggest hurricane shutters. I think hurricane shutters are a great idea. I think some type of structure that is real easy. During the hurricane, I had hurricane shutters when I was in Lake Charles area. Real simple. Storms coming, zip, 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 close the windows, and I'm done. And everyone else is screwing on their plywood, and I didn't have plywood. I had hurricane shutters. Made my life so much easier. So that's an option. But if you're going with the plywood, what the studies have shown is that you need at least 3/4 of an inch. If you have that thin plywood, won't do much of anything. Yeah, you know, it might stop. If there's a cardboard box coming through your window, it might protect it. But when you're talking about the big stuff, limbs and all that, you need at least 3/4 of an inch. And you can either do a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, or you can double up on 3/8 inch plywood. That might be a lot more affordable for you. I do think I think 3/8 is less than half of a 3/4 inch plywood. I'm not sure, but it might be a lot more affordable. Double up on the 3/8 inch plywood. That's the minimum that you want, is a 3/4 inch thickness on that plywood to protect your windows, to protect your home. All right, so that's that bonus information. Okay, so check out this video on supplies that we did last year.